Franklin, an old cartoon that used to air on Nick Jr. back in the late 90s and early 2000s, based on the old children's books by Brenda Clark and Paulette Bourgeois. It was pretty typical kids show, talking animals, a bit of comedy, and some life lessons at the end of each episode. I remember I used to watch it all the time as a kid, and I've always had a love for animals. That's probably what hooked me up on the show way back then. Yet the love I used to have for this harmless kids show died in me after I saw it. I don't know how to say something unholy, so gruesome to be allowed shown on television. Well, I've heard some of those things of these lost episodes. Now, you may all just pass it off as a normal creepypasta story, but let me tell you, it's indeed real. I pray that none of you guys will see this vile distortion of a kid's entertainment, yet the images I saw will haunt my nightmares. Perhaps I'll tell you about it, so I can get in some closer, and also warn you about this lost episode of Franklin. I suppose I'll start with how you can say I've witnessed this in a horrid program. My sister has this babysitting job for certain days of the week, and she usually doesn't get home till around 6:30 or 7. Yet when she has to do her homework, since she can't do it while she watches the kids, so she also has to use the computer for it, which happens to be in my room, thus having me to be banished to the living room while she does her schoolwork. So I was there, just me and the TV. I surfed through the guide a bit, looking for something entertainment when worth the point of watching extra channels, most from Cox, and if there has even been anything worth watching. A bit pressed since I sat there for a while. My sister had to do a project. When she would finally be out in an hour, at least I bet. Oh boy, I would have won that big time. It was around 9:30 now, and I asked when she'd be done, only to get a vague answer. I'm almost there. Yeah, almost halfway there, I thought to myself. Thus, I turned back at the TV. As I scrolled through the channels, something popped out at me. There was Franklin. I thought that show got canceled, I said to myself. That must have been some type of special, I assumed, since hence why it was so on late. Call it nostalgia, or call it laziness, or not to bother to see if anything was better, I decided to watch it. The episode starts off with the normal enough, the opening, "Hey, it's Franklin" song, which I gotta say it was a bit dorky to me now, but whatever. Then that's when things got messed up. The episode then starts off with the image of Woodwind, the home of Franklin and his family and friends. It was a cloudy day, almost as if it's about to rain. The scene then fades to all the parents and the child animals of the show were outside of somewhere. Franklin's parents, Bear's parents, Beavers, etc. The only ones were missing were Mr. Fox and Owl, and there were no children other than Badger, Bear's little sister and Franklin's little sister. Also, Badger, who usually has crutches to get around because she has cerebral palsy, is now in a wheelchair and had a broken arm. Everyone was crying, but I didn't understand why. Suddenly the scene changes when it was shown a normal sunny day, along with the road. A school bus was driving and it was shown inside it. Franklin and all of his friends with their teacher Mr. Owl and the bus driver Mr. Fox. Owl was taking the class talking about a museum field trip the class was going on. All the students were excited about because their own ways. Bear's wondering what type of food there'll be. Beaver, being the snotty know-it-all, claiming that she knows everything about the place. Fox wants to see the dinosaur exhibit, and of course Franklin wonders what the whole place would be like. Suddenly Mr. Fox begins to clutch his chest in pain, and the bus swerves off the side and begins to gasp for air. He's having a heart attack. "Dad!" Fox cries out in worry. A few of the other children scream in terror. Mr. Owl gets up and tries to get the bus driver. But yet, Mr. Fox falls on the driver's seat and the bus drives off the road and down a steep hill. Mr. Owl falls to the floor of the bus and cries in pain as he tries to get up, yet his eye was punctured. Perhaps maybe something falling from someone's school bag must have been something. Bear pukes at the horror of this, and right where Franklin, who freaks out and tries to get to his seat, only to have him crash to Mr. Owl and Mr. Fox. As he does this though, his arm and Heath hits on the steering wheel, causing the bus to turn over and over as it goes down the hill even more. The children in the bus begin crashing into everything and everyone on the bus. Broken windows and glass were flying all over the bodies all over. Snell even got sent flying through an open window, his shell crushing into bits, along with shards of glass that was piercing through him. Eventually the bus crashes into some trees at the bottom of the hill, and I'm slown at the carnage of the bus, glass piercing almost everyone's bodies in natural ways, the whole 9 yards. A few seconds later, a bloodied, battered and bruised Badger crawls out of the bus, only to look back and watch it burst and explodes moments after. The scene then goes back to the parents and the few kids. Now I see why they're on the cemetery, mourning for the loss of their family and friends. The episode then ended after that. Yet in the credits, which would only show the normal part of the episode, instead it showed a tombstone with the words, "Rest in peace, Franklin and friends." And that, my little pretties, was the lost episode of Franklin. A Franklin creepypasta written by Lycans Are Gods to Furrys. Lycans Are Gods to God's Gift to Furrys. Thank you so much for writing the story. Thank you so much for letting me read the story. This was appreciated. And my final thoughts on the story. Well, I remember I narrated this back in 2019, and I didn't really care for it back then, but now looking into it more, I actually found this story to be rather enjoyable and really awesome. So with that being the case, I'm going to sit there and say, now my opinion on this has changed, so be mindful of that for those who've seen this one back on my old channel before. Well, it's still the same channel, it's just back in 2019 if you guys remembered me back then. But for those who haven't, you're going to see this. I actually found this one to be a decent and really well made creepypasta. Maybe a bit cliched, maybe just not cliched to madness, but it did have maybe a few cliches that I'm just to say, maybe one or two cliches that I do know that are in this story, but I'm willing to excuse that. It's a pretty cool story and really well made, so I could definitely say this one was actually more of a feels pasta. At least to me, I actually found this to be more of a feels pasta in a way. I don't know what exactly it was, but for some reason, it actually feels more of a feels pasta. Like, it just feels more of a feels pasta because of the concept, This basically, tells a story about somebody who, watched Franklin back as a kid and, he went on, on TV and watched an episode of Franklin, and that's when, messed up stuff goes on, Franklin's, everybody dies and all that, which I could definitely, and say this right now, that this is actually more of a feels pasta. I think that's just how I look at it, but if you guys want to call it a creepypasta, that's totally fine. So, the good thing I could definitely say about this story was that it's not, somebody finding this episode on a DVD, mailbox or something like that. No. It's not any of that, which I'm really impressed and glad that, thank God, it did not have that because, who needs, here's the thing, who needs lost episodes that have, been repetitive over and over again, especially the ones that go Shia. But in this matter, though, this story was actually pretty well done. Like, I did have maybe one or two things that I want to say, but I'm gonna, save that for, well, when I wrap up the review. Well, not really, but you could probably understand. This story, I could definitely say it was a pretty interesting concept, not gonna lie. So I could definitely say, the grammar was pretty good, along with the sentence structuring, the storyline, and everything was pretty cool. So that I could definitely say, I really do appreciate the grammar being good. That I could definitely say. The grammar is really good and well done. So I definitely have to say the grammar is pretty good. With the sole exception, with that, I'm gonna say that I actually found this story to be rather good. Now, it's a pretty interesting concept when I saw this story. Like, I remember when I saw this back in Shadow's old channel back in 2017 or 2018. I remembered I watched it. By the way, I hope Shadow re-narrates this, and hopefully he does a re-narration of it or something, because that'd be really cool. I really would like to see him sit there and do that someday. So, with that being the case, I'm going to sit there and, say what I actually thought of this story. I actually thought of this story to be rather good and amazing. It's a pretty good story, really well made. Now, yeah, I could definitely say that the author put his time and effort into the story, so I'm definitely gotta say. Now, one thing I could definitely say, and I'm definitely going to be honest right here, right now, is, the one thing I could definitely say I wasn't really crazy on was that mentioning of these lost episode pastas. I know so gruesome and ungory and gruesome and gory, unholy, scenes and, disturbing episodes of certain TV shows are on TV. Like, I've seen them too. Like, I could definitely say mentioning these lost episodes, well, they're not real, basically. Basically, they're not really real, but you could definitely say that, I think somebody other pastas kind of made that and did that, so that's one thing I wasn't really crazy on. Another thing is just this, is they pass it off as a normal creepypasta story. Well, mentioning a normal creepypasta story or mentioning creepypasta story in it, well, probably just wasn't really that great to add it in. Like, it doesn't kill the story. No, it doesn't. It does not kill the story. It's really well done and made. I'm not gonna lie. It's a pretty good story for what it was. Now, I could definitely say that this story is pretty good. Good story. So, with that being said, this story was actually pretty good story. Now, the point of this is that it's pretty, oh my god, it's like really amazing. Oh, geez. This is just, I could definitely say, I know Franklin and his friends didn't die in the show, but I know this is like a lost episode pasta, so I could definitely say. Of course, I definitely have to say, it's not really scary. That's another thing I could definitely say I wasn't crazy on, is that it wasn't really that scary. Sure, I know it was unnerving and all that, but it just wasn't that scary, and at least to me that is. Not trying to sound, rude or anything. I'm just saying. So, of course, I think creepypastas don't really scare me that much because I've been used to it, so that's one thing I could definitely say. But I definitely have to say that this story actually played out well with what I really thought. I actually find this story to be pretty awesome. So I could definitely really have to say that this one was actually something. So, with that being the case, what did I, oh yeah, I'm gonna say this right now, as this story was actually pretty interesting. It's a pretty interesting story, really good concept, I really do like it. So, with that being the case, yeah, this is simply my own personal opinion, and like I always gonna continue to say, this is simply my own personal opinion, and if you happen to disagree with me, that's fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions regarding these creepypastas, and this is simply my own personal thoughts. My final rating of this story would have to be I'm going to give this one an 8.5 out of 10. I'm giving this an 8.5 out of 10 is because the grammar was good, the set instruction was good, everything about it was interesting. But the fact that this one wasn't really it wasn't scary, I'm not going to lie, it was not scary. It could have a little bit more of a fear factor. But with that issue being not main, but kind of really irked me a little bit. Another thing I could definitely say was mentioning lost episodes in creepypastas. Like, I really didn't really know what to think of that, but it wasn't really a big issue, but still. And the same thing with the creepypasta story, mentioning that this is a creepypasta, just random creepypasta stories in a creepypasta story. I didn't really think that really make any sense, to be honest. But with that being the case, with those issues, they're not major ones, but I just thought I would point them out. But other than that, this story was actually pretty interesting. So, with that being the case, yeah. What did you guys think about this creepypasta? Did you all enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what would you have done in person to help make this story a lot better? Leave me know your thoughts down in the comment section down below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. If you happen to be brand new here on this channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload, so that you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, please roll the outro because I'm out of here. And I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace out, everyone. And as always, please roll the outro because I'm out.